good evening, Titan Nation. How's everybody doing?
What's going on, Titan Nation? How's everybody doing? Welcome in to a brand new edition of TNT Tonight. I'm your host, Chris, aka Blue Enforcer, aka The Truth, and we're gonna try to have a good show on this Wednesday. I know I originally put this show out for 7 o'clock. I thought I was gonna have a couple of other guests, but due to some other circumstances, we had a couple of guests back out, and we just decided to go back to our regularly scheduled time. And so we're gonna and I do have a guest for you. You'll probably look forward to hear what this gentleman has to say. He's definitely in the know of what's going on in Titanland. But before we get into all that, of course, definitely make sure you follow on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Definitely follow those channels if you haven't already. Definitely make sure you give me a follow, and also make sure I share everything out to everybody and all. And if you're on watching the show, go ahead and smash that like button as more of you come on in. Make sure you invite other people to come on in and watch the show as well. Hit that like button for me, help me out a little bit on the algorithm, and definitely help make sure more Titan fans and more football fans see the show. And also smash that subscribe button as well. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, and then definitely go ahead and subscribe and hit all on your notifications under the bell, so that way you know whenever I go live. Like I was gonna go live at 7, ended up going live at 5. So that actually worked out pretty good for me. And then of course I'm doing better to make sure I'm holding myself accountable. I haven't been great with doing this, but I'm getting better. We're making sure I put it on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, or Google Podcasts. So you definitely check that out if you just want to hear the audio version. You know, if you're on your way to work, or if you don't get to hear the show today, you can work. You can just do it the next day, and everything. So thank y'all for doing that. All right, everybody. I apologize for the technical difficulty right now. Of course, I'm just going to give me a new microphone because that microphone wants to just not act right at all. And so we're going to keep going with the show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate y'all being patient with me. We're going to go ahead and keep this show going, and we're not going to let, as the old song say, one monkey don't stop no show. We going to keep on rolling.
And so right now we're gonna go ahead and bring in our special guest. Y'all know him, you love him. If you don't, get to know him. Everybody, this is my guy, Mr. Ken Moore. Ken, do you hear me good?
I got you, man. You sound loud and clear.
All right. And so this actually works out better than right now what's going on with my microphone. So it's looking like it just, I don't know. I probably got to do some work on it anyway. Probably got to get a new one soon enough. But definitely appreciate you coming on. If you don't mind telling the fine folks, maybe a little bit about the Danger Zone that you did and where everybody can find you.
Right, absolutely. So everyone, if you didn't know, we rebranded the K Moore Sports Show. It is now the Danger Zone podcast. So that's Danger Zone podcast. You can find that on YouTube. Hop over there. And then, of course, you can find me on my regular social media pages, Ken Moore on Facebook. I have 2 pages on Facebook, my Ken Moore profile and then my K Moore Sports profile. Also on Twitter at K Moore Sports. I know a lot of you follow me there. And on Instagram at Ken Moore Sports. So that's where you guys can find me. Oh, and then also, I must mention your friendly neighborhood sportscaster from ESPN. You can find my work on ESPN Plus. This past week we had the Alcorn Grambling game. 2 weeks ago we had Jackson State and Alabama A&M. Both of those games are still on ESPN Plus, so you can go rewatch those games. And then this upcoming Saturday, I'll be in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for homecoming between Southern Jaguars and Alcorn State as they battle for first place in the SWAC.
Oh, I was over to ask you. So you were down at Alabama A&M, so you got to partake in their homecoming a little bit.
Yeah, well, actually, I went to the game in Mobile. It was the Gulf Coast Challenge. It was a neutral site game. So it was Jackson State and Alabama A&M. We were down there 2 weeks ago in Mobile.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's what's up. Yeah, because I know I have a couple of friends who are followers. One of them is a follower, goes to Alabama and went to Alabama A&M, and I think the other is a sorority sister of mine. She goes to grad school for Alabama A&M, so I was kind of wondering about that a little bit, but definitely cool. And y'all definitely make sure y'all check out the Danger Zone podcast. I snuck over and listened to it for just a bit, and I heard your homeboy who's a Texan fan, so I kind of saw a little bit of that camaraderie. So I definitely got to check that out and everything. But y'all definitely make sure y'all follow K Moore Sports. Y'all definitely follow this man. Knows a lot about football. He knows a lot about football, especially the HBCUs and the SWAC. And he definitely knows not just Titan football, but he knows how that climate is down there in H-Town. So we have an arch enemy down there by the name of the Houston Texans trying to steal our name and likeness and all of that stuff.
Yep.
And everything.
Yep.
That's what they try to do, but we ain't gonna let that happen.
Yeah,
so
they trying to rip it off. They had their little H-Town blue that they wore a couple of weeks ago when they played Buffalo. And I think they're cautiously optimistic down here. They haven't been running their mouths as much as they did during the Deshaun Watson era when they used to talk all the time and chirping. They've been a little bit more tame because I think they understand that right now they are the cream of the crop in the AFC South, but they do understand that Kansas City and Baltimore are also out there. And so they haven't been chirping as much as they normally do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, right now, Kansas City's the only team that's undefeated. Baltimore is they started off 0-2. People thought they were in trouble, and it's been bittersweet. It's been nice yet painful.
Yeah.
To watch our king just tear it up in that god-awful purple.
Yeah.
What he's doing is great. The colors he's wearing, it just makes me sick to my stomach. And yet, I blame myself for this one. I'm the one that's been saying to everybody, get used to life without Derrick Henry. When I don't think I myself was 100% ready for it either. And now I'm paying the price. So I got to hold myself accountable. I do. I wasn't ready for it.
Yep, I remember those conversations, bro. I remember those conversations, and I'm like, man, that dude is a living legend. He is a surefire Hall of Famer. Probably will go down as one of the top, definitely one of the top 10 running backs in NFL history, if not top 5 by the time it's all said and done. Right now, he's on pace for 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns, which is unheard of at this stage of an NFL running back's career. I think Adrian Peterson was probably the closest thing to it at this time. So he's just done. He's in a perfect situation. He's in a perfect situation. So hats off to him.
Absolutely. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, and I don't think Derrick's going to forget the majority of his success was with the Titans. Although he probably has a good chance to go after a ring, and if he gets it, without a doubt, well deserved. I'm gonna give him all the props in the world, not necessarily the Ravens all the props in the world, but I'm gonna give it to him because I mean, he's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of Tennessee Titans, right there with Tennessee Titans or Houston Oilers. Not named Steve McNair, not named Eddie George or Warren Moon. I'm like, you really got those three, and then Derrick Henry. You got to put them up there. And I know there's others that could really go up there as well. Javon, Javon go up there.
I think you got to take Eddie off and put Earl Campbell up there.
You know what? I forgot about Earl. I knew there was gonna be one that I was gonna forget, and I'm like, yeah. That's true. Earl's got to be up in there. I definitely agree. I mean, you could probably put all running backs on the Mount Rushmore, but Steve McNair's got to go there. So, McNair's got to go there. So, I mean, that's just as academic. But, yeah, if you have Derrick, you have Earl, you have Eddie, you have Steve, I'm actually pretty good with those four. Like, I think that might work. 3 running backs and a quarterback. I don't think that hurts. But I know there can be more on that, but let's get into this family meeting because, ladies and gentlemen, Titan fans and football fans everywhere, we need to talk. We really need to talk because after what happened with the game against the Indianapolis Colts, the team's morale is at a low point. I think it's getting close to a breaking point right now. And what leads me to wonder, we heard Calvin Ridley kind of go off a bit, about his frustration, which I'll give you my thoughts. Some of y'all have heard my thoughts already, but I'm going to do it again. But right now, this team is at a precipice, at a possible breaking point. I'm just hearing a lot of loser mentality out there, whether it's from some on Titans Twitter, where I'm hearing from some fans. I'm hearing it from a lot of media that is basically, season's over, give up, go for a high draft pick, and that this team can't win, and and all of this and that. And before I get to the main question, Ken, first off, what were your thoughts? It's basically a 3-part question here. First off, what did you think about Calvin Ridley's comments going off about his frustrations?
I agree with Calvin Ridley 100%. And here's let me take that back. I agree with Calvin Ridley 90%. 10% is on you, bro, because you can't be dropping passes. It doesn't matter when in the ball game they come to you. So that's first and foremost. There's no excuses, particularly on that slant pass when the game was still in the balance. You dropped that pass, and there were a couple of more passes that were bad throws by Levis, but they still hit you in the hands, and you have an opportunity to grab those passes. So if you're a $50 million receiver, $90 million receiver, whatever you want to call it, you have to make those catches no matter when they come to you. Now, as far as his frustration with not getting the ball early in the ball game, I absolutely agree with him 1,000%. That was my main beef when I went on my show Sunday night. You have 2 weeks to prepare for one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and your first 3 plays are a running play to Tony Pollard. That's fine. You pick up 8 yards. You got second and short. And then your next 2 plays are passes behind the line of scrimmage to running backs. No, that is incomprehensible. That is indefensible by Brian Callahan. I don't care if you're trying to protect Will Levis or not. If it's 2nd and 2, you got to throw the ball down the doggone field, try to pick up some first downs, and try to get the ball down the field to score on your opening drive of the ball game. If you're not going to do that, then he shouldn't be playing quarterback. So I completely agree with Calvin Ridley when it comes to that.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm with you on that. I know I said I 100% agree with what he said. Now, I also agree with you on the point, really, you got to catch those balls. Like there was about 2 of them should have been in your hand, should have been in your freaking hand. Now that one across the middle, I think he could have caught it. I was afraid that it might end up being a fumble anyway with that one, but yeah, you got to catch that football no matter when your number is called. At the same time, that just ticks me off because it's like Brian Callahan all week leading up to this game said, we want to get Ridley and Hopkins involved early, and you don't get neither one of them involved until it's too late when you're behind. And I guess that's another question I'm gonna have later about Brian Callahan, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But as far as his comments, I 100% agree with him. And he should have went off. And I don't blame him one bit. I would have done the same thing because it's pathetic. I mean, this dude is one of the better receivers in the league, and he only has 9 catches through 5 games. I mean, that is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. You get Hopkins the ball first. I mean, the thing about it is, and why are you not, and as Callahan, why are you not getting him and Hopkins in position to where they can catch the ball in volume or catch the ball and they can do something with it? I mean, I don't think I've seen the Titans run a good slant, a good, couple of little crossing patterns where it's like they just kind of dig in the middle, maybe see if they can catch defense off and get them in open space. I haven't seen none of that. I haven't seen any deep post routes through the middle. I haven't seen any of that. And we were supposed to have this dynamic offense. It looks a whole lot of what I'm like. Am I watching this team? I'm like, isn't this the same team I've seen for the last 4 years? It looks almost like it. Like, pretty much to a T, what it's looked like for the last 4 years. I'm like, Callie, I thought you were going to change stuff. Where's the change? And I don't see it. So he was right to voice his frustration. Even though I know D-Hop is pretty soft-spoken, he's not the type to just go off like that. But I would like to see D-Hop go off about it too, because he's in the same boat. He's in the exact same boat, and neither one of them deserve that at all. And that leads me to my second question. Like, I was just on Stillman and Company. I went on the show. I called in. And so my question to all of y'all is this, and I'm going to try my best to get to some of y'all comments. Am I asking for too much? I just want to win. And it seems like the majority of people that are Titan-centric are basically saying, yep, we're 1-4, it's over, just give up, season's done, no need to try, just give in, locker room's lost. I'm like, am I the only one that wants to win? Am I asking for too much? I remember a team in 2003, they were 1-4. looked like they were dead in the water. Steve McNair and that team, they dug themselves out of the hole, ended up winning 10 of their last 11 games, 9 in a row, won the AFC South, got to the AFC Championship. And if it wasn't for, a couple of fumbles won by John Simon on a kickoff, we might have would have had a small shot of making the Super Bowl when we were playing the Raiders. I remember a team in 2018, 2-4, dead in the water. They turn the keys, they give the keys to Ryan Tannehill, and lo and behold, we're in the AFC Championship, and we're a stop a Patrick Mahomes run away from being in the Super Bowl. I mean, Kobe Crazy Kid, am I asking for too much?
I'm going to add one to that. There was, I believe, 1993, before the Titans were born here in Houston, the Oilers were 1-4, I believe, and then they won 10 in a row, or they may have been 1-5 and won 10 in a row to finish 11-5. They end up losing in the playoffs that year, I believe, to John Elway and the Denver Broncos, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a difference, Chris, in that Oiler team I just spoke about, they had Warren Moon at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That Titan team you spoke about from 2003, they had Steve McNair at quarterback.
Yep.
That 2018 team that we had Derrick Henry and we had A.J. Brown at wide receiver. We finished that year 9-7 as a wild card team, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's right.
If I'm not mistaken, and we were able to catch fire and get to the championship game. This team, unfortunately, is not that team or neither of those teams. This team, I predicted at the beginning of the season to finish 9-8, to challenge Houston for the division, because I don't think Houston's a great team, or to battle for, a wild card spot. Because of the way the schedule's set up. The first 5 games of the first 5 games of the schedule set up where the Titans should have came out of that at worst 3-2, likely 4-1, when you factor in the injuries to Jordan Love and to Tua, 2 games that we probably would have been favored to lose those games. First 2 games should have been victories against the Bears and the Jets.
I agree.
Those games were won, they were done, and Will Levis gave them away.
Yep.
Then you had a backup quarterback in Green Bay in Malik Willis. You had a backup quarterback in Miami, which we ended up winning. And you had a backup quarterback coming off a bye in Joe Flacco. You had to win those games because when you look at the schedule now, it's murderer's row for the rest of the season, unfortunately. You got Buffalo. You got Detroit on the road. When you come back from that, you're going to be 1-6. There's 5% chance you can go into Buffalo and win. There's a 1% chance you can go into Detroit and win those games. So you coming back 1-6 in the season, it's over at that point. There's no coming back from that. So I think that's where the fans' frustration is. That's where my frustration is because you had the opportunity in front of you to create a situation where you're playing meaningful football games into late October, November, and now most of that hope has been ripped away unless there's a miracle coming the next 2 weeks in Buffalo and Detroit.
And I see where you're coming from with that. And what I said, and Jared was mentioning is like, hey, you think you can win these next few games or anything like that? You're probably not. And I'm thinking like this, where Brian Callahan made his mistake. And again, Brian Callahan is making a lot of rookie mistakes. And I'm trying to give him grace because he's a first-year head coach, first time calling plays, first year as a head coach. Here's the thing. I understand this is supposed to be the year we're supposed to find out if Will Levis is the guy or not. After that Jets game, To me, that question was answered. The question was answered in the Jets game, that he is not the guy. The Colts game further cemented that. And the reason why I have faith in Rudolph, and I think Rudolph could turn this thing around because he will simply run the offense. In that game against Miami, now, I'm not even putting into the point that no Tua or anything like that. Other than no Tua, pretty much the Dolphins were healthy, except for Tua, the most important position.
Mm-hmm.
In that particular game, Mason Rudolph did three things that Will Levis just simply cannot do. One, he did not turn the ball over. And a lot of that, I agree, was attributed to the running game. They did not let him throw it much, but when he had to, he made good decisions when he had to throw the football. And what did it for me was the drive right before halftime. I think we were maybe, I want to say about a minute and a half, maybe under a minute, about a couple of plays, made some good decisions, got the ball downfield quick, got us in the field goal range, got us points going into the locker room. Will Levis would not have been able to do that. We would have probably either had a very long shot of field goal, or we would have just kneeled the ball and took it into the locker room, or he would have threw an interception. And he didn't turn the ball over. The one and only time we scored 30 points in almost 3 years, Mason Rudolph did the majority of the work at quarterback. Right. And he won the game. The only victory we have is the one that Levis didn't play fully in. Right. And he got hurt. He did those three things in one game. Some Levis has yet to do. Do I think we beat Buffalo in Buffalo? There's a hostile territory. Probably not. I would bet against them. However, I strongly feel we have a better chance to win. I'm not saying we would win. I'm just saying we have a way better chance to win with Mason Rudolph at quarterback than we do at Will Levis. I would at least say with Mason Rudolph, we have about a 20% chance to win. With Levis, we have a negative 50% chance to win. Because, again, I have deemed Will Levis the mistake waiting to happen, because he ain't never let me down. If I bet on Will Levis throwing an interception in every game, I could probably be a rich man, because I know he's going to do it. So 1 year for every interception that Will Levis throws, you put a penny in. You're filling it up. And for every game he doesn't throw a pick, you take a penny out. That jar will never go empty. That jar will not go empty, because you know he's going to make a mistake at some point. So, I see some people saying, and see, Titan Hugo, got love for you, but this is exactly the mentality I'm talking about that really pisses me off. I'm like, I want some hope. Get the ball to D-Hop, get the ball to Ridley. Let's at least try. If we're trying hard and we lose and we're fighting tooth and nail, at least competing, I'll live with that. But just tanking for the sake of tanking, I'm not with that. And the fact that there's a lot of people say, tank. You can get up for the picks. Here's the thing about it, and this is what I mentioned as well. Okay, we win. We do a lot of winning. We'll end up 12, 13, 14. Okay, we're out of range of the quarterbacks. Boo-hoo, cry. Let's just find a way to fix the team a little bit more. And you go with Rudolph next year. And if you have Simeon or somebody else, hey, at least we keep trying. And then we go for a quarterback in 26. Other than that, what makes you think, even if you do tank, what makes you think you're going to even be in range for one of those guys anyway? And the main guys I would be looking at is either Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. Maybe a Jalen Milroe, but I'm not really 100% sold on him yet. I think Shedeur or Cam may be the better options. I'm not saying the perfect option, but they might be the lesser of three evils. I'll say that. But I just want to win. I don't think I'm asking for too much. Don't y'all want to win? I want to celebrate victories. I don't want to keep looking at losses. So I'm sorry if I'm the outlier. I want to win. And I understand the main issue is the quarterback, but I just think with Mason Rudolph, you at least have a few shots.
I think
And Tiger Hugo said, for what? So that Rudolph, to keep Rudolph for the future. Hey, people didn't think Tannehill was the future. We saw what happened, gave us some good years. So we don't know. We don't know. And last time I checked, it came back me up. Mason Rudolph has a winning record as a quarterback when he's in there. He at least helped the Steelers get to the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken.
he did. He
If
did.
I'm not mistaken.
He did.
I
was a proponent after the Miami game of playing Mason Rudolph because I had seen enough of Will Levis at that point. And the reason why at that point, right? Because you're 1-3. You still have a chance to do something with your season. Rand went out and spent a whole bunch of money in free agency at every position on the team. Safety, linebacker, you drafted Tavondre Sweat on the defensive line. You go to the offensive line, you sign Cousenberry, you sign Ridley and Tyler Boyd, and you sign Tony Pollard. So you sign players and draft players at every position to put your team in position to win. So that's why at that point, I would have made the move to Mason Rudolph to try and save my season. And if it didn't work out and he lost a couple of games, you could always go back to Will Levis. That's what I would have done. The Titans chose not to do that. I have no idea why. I have no idea why you would stick with Will Levis coming out of the bye week. One, with him coming off an injury. Two, you have a little momentum because you got a victory going into the bye. And then you have a division game coming up against a very winnable opponent. That would have been the time to make the change. Now, again, you can go to Mason Rudolph, but in my opinion, it doesn't matter at this point because it's too late. But yes, if you want to try and save the locker room, if you want to try and give the guys hope, then yeah, you would go to Mason Rudolph. But like some of the people in the chat are saying, you do have to look at the bigger picture. Okay, does Mason Rudolph have the same skill set that Ryan Tannehill did? Well, when we got Ryan Tannehill, he was still a mobile quarterback. He could run with the football. He was very complimentary to Derrick Henry in the run game. He had a strong arm where he could throw the football downfield. Mason Rudolph is a limited quarterback. He is better than Will Levis, but he is limited in what he can provide from an athletic standpoint and from a big arm throwing the football standpoint. So really right now, the Titans are in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Because you can put Mason in, you may be able to win a few more games, but winning a few more games will cost you the draft position that you covet. So from an organization standpoint, Rand and Amy and Brian, they have to sit down and figure out what they want to do. And Amy has to allow them, and she has to be the dictator of this, where she can take your standpoint and say, no, I don't want to lose 14 or 15 games this year. I want the best chance to win. I want to put fans in the stands, and I want you guys to do everything you can to win ball games, because I'm not going to sit around for 2 years and go 4-30 or 4-28 over the next 2 years. Or she can take the big picture view and say, you know what, guys, I see where you're coming from. Will Levis is not the answer. Mason Rudolph is not the answer. If losing games is what we have to do for this year, then that's what we have to do. But you better make damn sure you draft the right quarterback next year, because I'm not giving y'all 3 years. I'm not
Yeah.
giving you
Now, I think the only conflict I have with that, I get what you're saying. And see, first part, I'm with you too. I said it before the Colts game. They should have started Mason Rudolph. They should have just changed to Mason Rudolph then and just kept going with him because he gave them that first win. He gave them that first win that Will Levis couldn't do. I would not have went back to Will Levis at all, and that's where I disagree. I would have made the change and made it permanent. The only way Will Levis goes back in is if Mason Rudolph gets hurt.
Yep.
That's the only way. That's the only way. Because I'm trying to save the season. I know everybody else might be quitting or giving up, and I'm not saying you are too.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I'm going to die on that horse. I want to win.
Mm-hmm.
I, looking at the bigger picture, looking at the future, I get that. But I'm looking at, I understand a lot of times we got to look to the future, but I'm also thinking about the present. I'm looking at the moment. And the moment is I want to win. Winning is all that matters to me right now. Everybody talks about other stats, but the main stat that I care about most are W's and L's.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
What do you think their goal is right now in that building? What do you think? Going back to the bye week, based on what you saw on Sunday, what do you think their goal was? Was their goal to put the best possible team, to develop the best game plan, to go out and win? Or was it the best game plan to try and protect Will Levis? What was the goal?
The goal there, and it was consequentially with one of my 4 points to victory. I didn't expect the game plan to go that way, but Callahan coached not to lose. And we're going to talk about Callahan in a second. They coached not to lose. And why? They were trying to protect Will Levis from himself. They were trying to protect Will Levis from himself because I think Callahan is out on Levis. I think, again, the answer is there. It's already shown. He can't do it. And they were trying to protect him from making the mistake that he made. And he made the mistake anyway. And another part of it is Levis even said in the press conference, well, if I was a little bit healthier, I could have made that throw. Like he was saying there was some bother with the shoulder when he tried to make that throw to Ridley. And I'm thinking, well, if you're not 100%, why the heck were you even out there? But again, I think even you or I, we've played football before, even if we were in that position. Are we just going to go voluntarily tell the coach, coach, I'm not 100%, even I'm like 70%. I'm, for the betterment of the team, I'm not going to play. I don't think I would be able to help the team. Of course you're not going to do that. You're going to lie and say, I'm 100%, I'm ready to go because you want to play. And right. I mean, that is where Callahan made another mistake. And I'm with you going back to Rudolph. He should have played Mason Rudolph no matter what Will Levis said. I would have, again, if you're going to protect Will Levis from himself, keep him off the field. Keep him off the field. And so the game plan, and even Callahan admitted it was a conservative game plan. And I didn't like that because I'm like, you play to win. As Herm Edwards would say, you play to win the game, and we did a Wisdom Hunt thing, which, like I showed y'all last week, I got to see Wisdom Hunt face to face last week. And I was doing everything in my power not to ask questions about that conservative play calling he did. And so, yeah, the plan, conservative, protected Will Levis from himself, it failed. It failed tremendously. And so that's why I think it's time for a change. Go to Mason Rudolph now, but I know what's going to happen. They're going to wait till after we get killed by Buffalo because Levis is going to throw an interception or two. Then they're going to wait till after Detroit, which I think in both of these games, the reason why I have hope, I think defensively, we can hang in both games. Defensively, I think we're good enough. Offensively, because of our quarterback, we're not. The defense will hold as long as they can. But at some point, Will Levis is going to break their backs. And then after those two, and you're, like you said, 1-6, then they're going to be like, we've decided to make a change and go to Mason Rudolph. Watch, that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Watch, that exactly is going to happen. And so I see some saying, would you trade for Matthew Stafford if you're all in on this season? Money is an issue. And is Stafford really going to get you to where you want to go? Stafford's better than Levis. Stafford's better than Rudolph. Ken, I'm going to ask you, and then we're going to get into Callahan. Would you go after Stafford if you could?
No. Completely different system, completely different offense. You're not a quarterbacks you can't drop in the middle of the season like you can wide receivers and running backs and linemen and all that kind of stuff. You can't drop in quarterbacks in the middle of the season. Now, Green Bay did it with Malik because that was for the backup. He came in to be the backup, and then he had to play all of a sudden. So you can do that for a backup quarterback. You can't do that with a starting quarterback in the middle of the season. Can't do that.
Absolutely. I kind of agree with that too. I probably wouldn't go after him either. And plus, like I said, the money would be kind of crazy as well. And so now shifting to Callahan, and then we're going to get ready to go into stock up, stock down and everything because I know we're kind of running up on time.
I'm good.
Callahan. And the reason why I say we need to go to Mason Rudolph, because now I think the question is answered. Levis ain't the guy. Get him out of here. Mayo time is over. And y'all go check out my short. Like I said, y'all need to say it with me. Will Levis ain't it. Will Levis ain't it. Just start saying that to yourself. You know it's the truth. Mayo time is over. And so now that the question is answered, is it a good idea to go with Rudolph so that we can find out if Callahan is even a good coach? Because now there are quite a few people thinking, well, we need to go ahead and fire Brian Callahan. I'm not in the camp of that because I'm like, he's only coached 5 games. This is year 1 for him. So do you think the seat should be hot for Callahan even right now?
I think that the seat should not be hot, but when you turn on the stove, it's sort of click, click, click before the gas come on.
The oven's kind of starting to turn on a little. You're not saying it could be hot, but it's like it could be like low simmer. Like the oven should at least be turned on a little.
Yeah. Put it on warm. Put it on warm so you can warm your food up. So it should be warm. And here's the reason why, man, is because, and I said in my frustration, I need to know what Rand and Amy saw in Brian Callahan to make him the head coach. Because I haven't seen anything that screams head coach to me. From a game plan perspective, from a play calling perspective, to a time management perspective. Time management is huge. And if you cannot manage the clock, there's some things that are out of your control how your quarterback plays. Sometimes you can call a perfect play and your quarterback can screw it up. How you manage, how your game plan looks, and how you manage the clock. That tells me about a lot of your coaching acumen. And he didn't have any of those responsibilities at Cincinnati. He didn't call plays at Cincinnati.
Right.
He didn't call plays. Zach Taylor called plays. Right? And remember, the main criticism of my man from Kansas City that could never get a head coaching job under Andy Reid was because he didn't call plays.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what we're seeing now, is that this guy didn't call plays. Right?
Yeah.
And so he took the same approach as Zach Taylor. I got a head coaching job. I'm going to call plays. I'm going to have an offensive coordinator who helps with the game plan, but the offensive coordinator doesn't call plays. So at some point, he may have to turn over play calling duties until he can get down being a head coach.
I can see that.
Become a head coach. Because in the second part of that, Will Levis ain't just playing bad in games. You don't play great in practice,
right?
And then suck in games. That means you're not playing good in practice either.
I agree.
Right? The last preseason game, and I warned people about this last preseason game when they played the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints played a base defense. They didn't blitz one time in that game. And Levis had a really good first half in that last ball game against the Saints. And people was like, oh, jolly and hyped up for the season. I'm like, man, look here. The Saints didn't do nothing in that last preseason game. That doesn't tell me anything about Will Levis. So whatever they were doing in practice, throughout camp, whether they didn't challenge him enough, maybe they didn't give him enough defenses to see, something went on in camp that should have been a red light that, you know what, man, this dude is not ready.
Yeah.
Final point for me. And you know how much I hate Tim Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much, and I don't mean hate personally, but dislike Tim Kelly as far as a coach.
Professionally.
Will Levis never looked this bad under Tim Kelly. He never looked this bad under Tim Kelly. He had problems, but you chalk those up to being a rookie. But he never looked like a guy that would be out of the NFL, because this is where he's trending right now. Will Levis at this rate won't even be in the NFL next season.
I agree.
We never thought that last year with the somewhat success that he had under Tim Kelly. So Brian Callahan, to me, I haven't seen anything that gives me any confidence in him to this point.
I agree. Now, I agree. My confidence is starting to get shaken with Callahan. I mean, again, I'm willing to give him grace and at least give him this season. And then next season, I'm going to be like, all right, Brian, all right, Callie, turn this stuff around, or you might get the hook. Mm-hmm. And so I'm with you on that. And again, I know that there are sometimes coaches who get a quarterback and think, I can fix him. I know what his issue is. I can fix him. But sometimes, you know, I compare it to like a 3-6 Mafia song. Some of y'all have heard this one. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Mm-hmm. It's like Will Levis. There are habits in his game. It's just who he is. You can't save him. And you're trying to save him from himself. And there are just certain things. The decision making is bad. He panics under pressure. He, stares down one receiver, pats the football. On that interception, everybody and their mama, he was looking one way, either Hopkins or Ridley. He was going to Ridley. Everybody and their mama knew exactly where he was going because he telegraphed it to a T. He dropped back, staring down Ridley, and he passed the ball like 3 times. You are telling the defense where you're going. You are telling the defense where you're going. And again, the difference between, and I gotta go back to basics for a quick second. The thing I saw the difference in between, at least with Rudolph, he was dropping back, he started left, came back right, able to process things a little bit faster and get the ball out. Levis, he going back, he looking at one guy like, get open, get open, get open, boom, boom, and then letting it loose. By then, the corner, the defensive backs know where you're going. And so Callahan is trying to coach it out of him, but there are just some things that you can't coach out of a player. And that it makes you ask the question, was Levis even coachable to begin with? And it doesn't seem like he's coachable. It doesn't seem like it. I think I heard somebody talk about Patrick Mahomes, and, he wasn't lights on fire, the greatest prospect coming out of Texas Tech. But I think somebody mentioned he was coachable. He's teachable. And Patrick Mahomes didn't come into the league as the greatest thing ever. He wasn't even the top prospect. That was kind of, Deshaun Watson, or heck, the Chicago Bears picked Mitchell Trubisky over those guys in that draft in Philly, and I was there. And so, a coach has to be able to coach a quarterback, but a quarterback has got to be coachable, and I don't think Levis is. And it does give me pause for thought when it comes to Callahan. And I am a little bit concerned. I know the Vrabel apologists are going to come out and say, oh, well, Vrabel wouldn't have did that. Vrabel would have had this team winning. No, Vrabel would have had us in the exact same position. I mean, he's a stubborn, I'm just going to say, he's a stubborn jackass. We all know that. We all know that to be true. And he would have did it his way or the highway, and we would be in the same position as we are now. And we probably wouldn't even have half the talent that we got now. We would not have Snead. We would not have Ridley. We would not have Ernest Jones if Vrabel was around. We have far better talent than we did last year, minus Derrick Henry and Tannehill, and we're in the same place that we were before. So Callahan is giving me concern. I have more faith that Callahan can get it right for himself than I do Levis getting it right. I mean, again, the ship is sailed, but at 242 Titan mentioned it, and I forgot to mention this, you are absolutely right with the clock, with time management, because it doesn't make no sense to have some of these delay of games and you got to burn timeouts and stuff at the worst time. You got to have awareness. You got to have awareness. And so get the play in, and then it's up to Levis to get it off. If you got the play in enough time, Levis needs to get it off. And like he says, players coming in late, you can't be breaking the huddle with 10 seconds to go. You need to break it with about 15 so you can make some motion, make some checks and stuff like that. So
and I'm glad you mentioned motion, because when you compare first-time head coaches, when you look at Mike McDaniel in Miami, now he took over a better team. I think they were 9-8 when Brian Flores got fired, and he came in his first year, they were 9-8. But you can see the vast difference in their offense from Brian Flores to Mike McDaniel. They were using a lot more motion, a lot more tempo. Their offense became boom, 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 boom. And then the next year, Tyreek Hill was like, oh, I'm going to go play for that offensive coordinator because he knows what the hell he's doing. And he damn near won the MVP as a wide receiver, voted the best player in the league as a wide receiver. So those are the type of things that you have to show as a coach to want free agents to come here, because free agents came here this year on a whim because the Titans had the most money. They were able to overspend to get Snead and to get Ridley, because didn't anybody else really have that type of money to give those guys, particularly contenders, or they would have went to contenders. There's a reason why they're here, because the Titans had the most money. Now, next year, the Titans won't have the most money, right? Because all that money is tied up in those guys for at least 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So what concerns me is that I haven't seen any of that. I haven't seen any of the motion. I haven't seen complex routes to get guys open, to make throws for Will easier. Now, maybe there are guys wide open that we don't see because we don't see the all 22 unless you're at the game, or unless you have access. You pay extra, which I'm not going to do to NFL to get that type of camera stuff. But from what I can see through my lens is that everything's hard. Everything is hard. There's nothing easy And maybe that's
And-
Will, maybe that's Callahan, but I will say this before you move on to the next topic. He's got this year and whatever rookie quarterback, assuming we end up with a top 3, top 4 pick, number 1 pick, he's not going to get 2 or 3 years to work with that quarterback. He's going to have 1 year because people are going to be expecting C.J. Stroud, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams type production right out the bat because you already have the other pieces in place.
That's true. And there were a couple of times, and I'm going to mention one particular play. There were a couple of times, and I think I haven't gotten to watch, I think Tyler Rowland of Tit Tat Titan, Locked on Titan, he did a little bit of a breakdown, or it might have been somebody else that did a breakdown too. There were some plays that Will Levis just missed, guys. And one play in particular that I saw was in the Jets game when he threw that pick. Traylon Burks, for the most part, Traylon Burks should have caught that ball. He had 2 hands on it. The other guy had 1, and the guy that had 1 took the ball from him, which is an indictment on Burks, and Burks is such an embarrassment. That's why they should have never traded A.J. Brown in the first place, which was stupid. But when he threw that ball, right before he threw that ball to Traylon Burks going downtown, Calvin Ridley, if I'm not mistaken, if somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I believe I saw this on a highlight, Calvin Ridley was coming across the middle open. He had separation. Will Levis just did not even look his way. And a lot of times we throw interceptions. What's the first thing he said? I didn't see him. I didn't see him. I'm like, dude, that means you have no idea what defenses you're facing. You have no idea that, hey, they might zone blitz at some point. You know, if you see that there's a guy there, go somewhere else with it. And so, when it comes to that, I'm like, but again, I'm with you. Callahan has to scheme these guys open and give Levis or Rudolph some easier throws and make it simple for him. Simplify it. Don't play to win, but dumb it down for Levis to where he can be successful. And so that's why I think it's an issue. But quickly, let's get to the next topic, and we're going to talk about Buffalo real fast, is this. Trade deadline's coming up. I'm hearing a lot of talk. I'm hearing a lot of stuff going on. You know, we're hearing about DeAndre Hopkins. You know, A to Z Sports brought up either Big Jeff or Big Jeff. And some people even think Calvin Ridley wants out, which, I mean, if he does, I wouldn't blame him, but you can't trade him. But I heard somebody bring up Harold Landry to be traded. Could be a trade candidate. And so my question to you is, if you could name one guy, well, I'll say 2. 2 guys that you feel if you had to make a trade and there was a good deal, a suitor comes to you with a good deal, who do you think the player is that the Titans would trade for that good deal?
First and foremost, the easy one is D-Hop.
And I would hate it. I would hate to see him go, but I understand.
Teams need receivers, man. You know, he's probably got, you know what, maybe this year and next year left at a productive rate. So he's the easy one, obviously. Now, what you can get for D-Hop, I think would probably be like a conditional 5th that maybe could turn into a 4th. I think that's probably the most you could get for him. Harold Landry, I'm pulling up his cap numbers here. Looks like at the end of this year, if the Titans released him at the end of this year, they would have $13 million in dead cap space. His salary for the next 2 years is $17.5 million a year, so that's $35 million left on his contract. So I think Harold Landry is a tremendous football player. I think he's highly underrated. I love the guy. Edge rushers are hard to find, just like wide receivers. Let me see how old he is. He is 28 years old right now. So it really depends on if you plan on bringing him back next year at $17.5 million.
And I
If
want to
you're,
say, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry,
no,
kid.
you good.
And
Go ahead.
I want to say, and I think I heard this correctly on the radio. After this year, I think he doesn't have any more guaranteed money on the contract. So I think any team that trade him, they just have to pay him like a few million per year, and then they take on the rest of the contract. He don't have any guaranteed money. I just wanted to mention that, but you can continue on.
Right. So that's the question. If he's a guy that you feel is a valuable piece at 29 years old next year, then and at $17.5 million, you can bring him back at that. If you say, nah, he's had a couple of injuries, he's hitting that 29-year-old mark, we don't think he's worth $17.5 million, then you can go ahead and say, okay, let's try to trade him and let's try to get, a third-round pick or something like that for him. So that's the decision that the team has to make. We're already struggling at edge rusher. Arden Key is your second best guy, and he's not that good, obviously, and you don't have any depth at the edge rusher position. So I would keep Harold Landry. I think he's worth $17.5 million next year. He's making $17 million this year as well. So I would keep Harold Landry.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think D-Hop is the logical choice. Again, I would hate to see D-Hop go. I would hate to see him go because he is Will Levis's security blanket, because it just seems like for some reason, and again, I do not seem to understand how come him and Calvin Ridley can't get on the same page and he just can't get the ball to him. But I think a lot of it is he doesn't get the ball to him early. He doesn't give Ridley some simple routes to run to where he can get the ball in his hands and get him in a flow. So I think that's an issue. Again, I would hate to see D-Hop go because he's the consummate professional. I think he's happy here. He likes it here. And I mean, that would mean we would have to depend on the worthless Traylon Burks, who I think is going to be out of the league after this year because he's going to be like Jake Locker. After these years, nobody's going to want him. He's going to be done with football. Go off, be a dad, enjoy being a father on a farm in Arkansas somewhere. And I mean, it's just a waste of God-given talent, in my honest opinion. And it's a damn shame.
He will get a shot.
I
he
doubt
won't be in Tennessee next year, but
it won't be.
Dan Fitzpatrick was in the Steelers camp this preseason.
He ain't on the team. And
no, I'm just saying Traylon will be in somebody's camp next year.
That Dan Fitzpatrick thing, that's another story. I think you've heard me tell the story before.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. You know why? Because I was banging the table for Amon-Ra St. Brown or Tylan Wallace. I was banging the table for one of those guys. We could have had Amon-Ra. I don't know if Amon-Ra would be putting up the numbers he's putting up now here, but I think he would have put up some good numbers and did some good. More than what Burks is doing. But Diop is the logical answer. I know somebody mentioned Cheeto, could be out of a job because, I mean, Jarvis Brownlee, he's playing out of his mind right now and is playing very well. A guy that I would say other than D-Hop, I would not trade Harold Landry because, again, yes, he might could get you a third, maybe even possibly, and I say possibly, a second because it's a premium position and he is the sack leader right now, like for Detroit, because Aiden Hutchinson's out for the year. But D-Hop is probably my only option, I would say, because I wouldn't trade Harold Landry because you will already be weakening a weak position. Arden Key ain't it. Jalen Harold is getting more snaps than Arden Key, and I would like to see Caleb Murray get some looks. And I think some other cat that wears 99, I can't remember his name, is getting a little bit of push too. And so that's more of an indictment on Arden Key. So I wouldn't trade Harold Landry because that's weakening a position that you need. I saw somebody mention Ernest Jones. I wouldn't trade him either. If all accounts, I would try to keep Murray and Jones together as much as possible because they're a bright spot. So I would say the logical answer is D-Hop. I think he's the only one you realistically could move. Again, I'd hate to see him go. I'd probably get a D-Hop jersey, maybe see if I can get him to sign it or something like that and post it up on a wall somewhere. But I would say D-Hop is the logical answer. Maybe you could sneak into a conditional fourth. Maybe it turns into a third. I'm being a little greedy. I'm being a little greedy if I could be. Because, I mean, I think D-Hop will still have some value, especially with his Hall of Fame status. So I think that's definitely the logical answer. But a quick stock up, stock down. Let's get right into it on that. Here are my stock up, and Ken, feel free to give me your thoughts on. I'm just gonna go solo for a second. Here are my stock up and stock down. Up, obviously, is Jarvis Brownlee. I like Kenneth Murray's play. Leroy Watson, minus the penalties, did extremely well, at least for the position he was put in. And I put Mason Rudolph on there because I just want him to start because I think he could win us games instead of Will Levis. Stock down, obviously, Will Levis. I'm done with him. It's easy. Brian Callahan, his stock is falling. L'Jarius Sneed, his stock is starting to dip a little bit, although, unlike a lot of others, I still have firm belief in L'Jarius Sneed that I just think he just had a bad game. He had a bad game. I think he's done way more good than bad this year. I know he had a couple of times where Tyreek got the best of him speed-wise. He had some struggle with speedy receivers. But for the most part, L'Jarius Sneed has been a bright spot. Arden Key, as I've mentioned, just not good. And Chig has completely disappeared from this offense. And, I mean, a lot of it is Levis. I blame Levis for a lot of this, and I'm going to continue to do that. So those are my stock up and stock down as far as I'm concerned. Ken, did I miss anything?
No, I definitely agree with Brownlee. He's been a revelation. He's been a definite surprise at that cornerback position. I think he's been outstanding. I got to give a shout out to my boy T'Vondre Sweat. A lot of people was down on him when the Titans drafted him in the second round. They were talking a lot of trash about him, and I had to come on several shows and defend him. He was the second best lineman in the country last year at the University of Texas, and I think he's proven that the DWI incidents. Hopefully that was just a one-time thing, a growing incident for a young man, and he's righting that wrong. So I got to give a shout out to T'Vondre Sweat. On the stock down, I don't know what's happened to Chig. I actually feel sorry for Chig because I thought the tight end would be a staple of this offense where he could become a security blanket, a big body across the middle. Because Cincinnati tight ends in the past have always been productive receivers ever since Joe Burrow got there. So I expected the same for Chig. So I'm really, really disappointed in the production that he's had. Two guys, you mentioned Treylon Burks. The guy catches one pass across the middle and he gets hurt, falling down. I mean, come on, bro. I think even Keith Bullock tweeted, this dude catch one pass and he hurt again. So I'm completely out on Burks. One guy you didn't list that I'm really stocked down on is Tajay Spears. And it's not because he got hurt. I envision Tajay Spears being what Shaheed has been to Derek Carr with the New Orleans Saints. And shout out to Shaheed. I think he had surgery today. He may be out for the year on his shoulder. But that kid has been dynamic since day one when they played the Titans in week 1 last year. And I was at that game in the Superdome when he got that long pass down the field to end the game. And he's done it over and over and over again. He's been an explosive player for the Saints. He's been tremendous. That's what I thought we were getting with Tajay Spears. And people said, well, last year he's playing behind Derrick Henry and this, that, and the third, and blah, 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 blah. Well, I thought he was supposed to be the guy coming in this year, and I thought Tony Pollard was supposed to be the backup and the complimentary player. But Tajay Spears hasn't given us anything. He ain't given us anything.
And I and I don't know who I could blame for that one, because I mean, it could have been some time where they line up together. It's like right now, Pollard is clearly outplaying them. So I definitely do agree with that. Yeah, I feel bad for Chig, and I kind of figured the tight end probably wasn't going to be as important because there was a certain guy in free agency, and I think he's still a free agent, CJ Uzomah, who was a part of that Bengals offense, and Callahan was there. And they had a chance to go in and pick him up. He was a free agent, and they didn't really go out and take a look at him. I'm thinking, aren't you familiar with this guy? I'm thinking, he might come in and give you some familiarity, and they didn't really go out there. So that kind of made me think, okay, tight end may not be that big of a big deal as far as the position is concerned and everything. And right now, Josh Wiley looked like he getting a few more snaps than Chig. So, I mean, the tight end position has kind of become obsolete. And that is definitely a bit disappointing. I do feel sorry for Chig, but you got to take advantage of the few snaps that you do get when it comes to that. So not really going to go into star of the week dunk of the day, because I'm like, honestly enough, after that game, nobody really deserves it, to be perfectly honest. I mean, losing to a game against a Colts team that you should have beat, I'm not really going to go into all of that. However, let's go into Buffalo. And we're going to go into Buffalo. And as you can see, offensively, we're terrible. We're terrible. One of the worst offenses in the league, as you can see, and that is not good. We're starting to climb up and running the football and everything. But again, we have bad quarterback play. The rest is going to be bad along with it. And so I don't know if we're ever going to move up. Callahan's going to have to make some changes, and he's got to change his philosophy a little bit. Start throwing the ball more early instead of just on some screens. Defensively, we're looking great. We're looking great. Still, even though we had this game, we're still number one in total defense, number one against the pass. We've really improved against the run. We're up to 9th against the run. So right now we're top 10 defense, and we're 13th in scoring defense. And so, again, this defense is going to have to be the catalyst. It's going to have to be the thing that makes us go. That's why I have a little bit of hope with Buffalo and maybe less hope against Detroit, because Detroit can score. But with Buffalo, around that, if we can keep them around that 20-point mark and stuff like that, I think defensively they can keep us in the game, and that's going to lead into about 4 points of victory for this game against Buffalo, which I don't really have a lot of hope, especially with Levis starting. And, I mean, if you look at Buffalo, yes, offensively they can score points, but they're really middle of the pack in a lot of categories. In yards, they don't really pass the ball as much. They ran the ball quite a bit more. I forgot the running back's name, but he's actually pretty decent, and they're going to have to try to contain that. I know defensively is where they hang their hat. They don't really give up a lot of points. They're 11th in that area, but this defense doesn't seem like they're invincible. But Buffalo did just get Amari Cooper, which will complicate things a little bit for the Titans, because, I mean, Keon Coleman, he's a dog. He's a dog of a player. Shakir, their little shifty wide receiver from Boise State, has caused some problems. We know Dalton Knox can be some trouble. So that's going to be something here. But my Blue Enforcer 4 points to victory, and Ken, I'm going to definitely let you chime in. We're going to start on the defensive side. And the first thing is keep the team in the game. Keep the team in the game. Keep them out of the end zone as much as possible. It's going to be strength on strength. And when it comes to that, the defense is going to have to win us this game if we have any chance to win. And it's a hostile environment, and the defense is going to have to come out hot and get after Josh Allen, get after this team, force some 3-and-outs, and at least give the offense somewhat of an opportunity before Levis ultimately is the mistake waiting to happen. Because again, I'm betting on Levis throwing an interception. I'm going to start doing that every week on out. I'm going to have that bet by itself, and I'm just going to slowly stack money because I know that's what he's going to do. I know he's going to do that. He ain't never let me down yet, and I know it's going to continue. And the second part of that is you got to find a way to the quarterback. You got to get sacks. And, Josh Allen's going to be tough to bring down because he's mobile, he's strong, he can run. He's a tough customer to deal with. But if you can get to him, you may have a chance. I think you have a good chance, and I think with this defense, I think we can still do some good. Ken, what are your thoughts about my defensive keys?
My number one defensive key, which this team has not done, you got to force turnovers. 3-and-outs are not enough. 3-and-outs are not enough. Being the number one defense in total yards and pass yards against is not enough.
Yeah.
We saw when Monty Hooker got the interception, it gave us a short field. We were able to go down and get a quick score. You have to put this offense in short fields. So yeah, you can play well, you can play fine, but if you're not making game-changing plays, if you're not making impact plays, if you're not winning the turnover battle, then you're not going to win the game. You're not going to win a game by forcing Buffalo to punt. You got to force some turnovers. And the thing is, I don't think Josh Allen has thrown an interception all year.
You know what? And you're absolutely right. I'll bring that up. 1,160 yards, 10 TDs, no picks. Hasn't thrown a pick yet. Something Levis, again, cannot do because he's thrown a pick in every game. And so I am with you. Turnovers is going to be important. Defense has got to find a way to make Josh Allen make that first mistake. And he has yet to do that. So I definitely agree with you and on that. So that is one that I left out that I should have remembered is turnover because that's going to be key. Monty Hooker, definitely got the pick. Even though he was a little early on that pass interference, he nearly caused another one. And then Brownlee, got a little ticky-tack, but could have got another. Joe Flacco should have thrown like 3 picks in that game against us. So the defense, I think, is starting to find ways to the ball, but you're right. They do have to do that a little bit more. Number 3, and it's going to the offensive side. Brian Callahan, for the love of God, use your weapons. Use your weapons to their advantage. Quit trying to make Will Levis something he's not. And just let's throw the football. You're going to start him. We're probably going to lose anyway because he's going to make a mistake. But at least go down swinging. At least get the ball. And some people say, don't force feed to Hopkins, don't force feed to Ridley. No, force feed those guys. Get those guys the ball early and often. There is no excuse. You threw the ball 27 times, only for 95 yards. Of those 27 passes, a combined at least 18 of those passes should go to Hopkins and Ridley alone. There is no excuse. They should at least have 9 to 10 targets a game apiece. Anything lower than that is an absolute failure. They deserve to get as many balls thrown at them as possible, but you got to put them in position to do so. And then, yes, occasionally get the ball to Pollard, get the ball to Tyler Boyd on occasion. But again, Hopkins, Ridley, throw in Boyd, Hopkins, Ridley, Pollard. That's how I would do it. And last, play and coach to win, not to lose. And that's what happened in the game against Indianapolis. They played not to lose. And Ken, what happens when you play not to lose?
You lose.
Bingo. Bingo. Play to win the game. It is that simple. Play to win the game. Things are going to happen. Yes, I know mistakes are going to happen. Will Levis is going to throw He's going to throw a pick or two. I know. Play to win the game. Now, if you throw an interception on a good pass and a receiver falls or, overthrown or something, I don't like it, but I'll deal with it. But just not the stupid flick like he did in Chicago, or the bowling ball toss to Tajay Spears, which was ridiculous, or the obvious out route that 9 times out of 10 tends to get picked off. But you play and coach to win. Don't have that loser mentality going up there. It's already going to be a hostile environment. Bills Mafia are going to be out there crazy. Tables are going to be broken. Somebody go crash into a table or something like that. But go up there and at least compete, fight, show some fight in this game, and we might have a chance with our defense. And I didn't put a moment of truth up because Buffalo is going to win. Right now, it started off as the 8.5-point favorite for Buffalo. It's up to 9.5 right now. It's going up. And I mean, I'm kind of scared to pick the Titans to at least cover. I don't know if that's a good idea. I mean, going to Bills Mafia, going anywhere else with that spread, I would probably pick Titans plus whatever and think they might could cover. Not win, but cover.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about that. I don't know about this one. I don't know, but I think Buffalo is going to win. I'm thinking 31. I'm thinking like a 31-17. Whenever Levis is in there, we don't score no more than 17 anyway.
17 is the max, man. 17 is the bingo number. 17 is the bingo number.
Mason got us to 31. Levis can't get off of 17.
17 is the bingo number, bro. Look, offensively, they have to get some chunk plays. You got to throw the ball down the field. You got to get some 20, 30-yard completions. You got to allow guys to catch, crossing routes where they can make a run after the play, use their explosiveness, Tyler Boyd and Ridley and maybe Pollard. I don't know if Spears is going to play in this game or not. I think Chestnut may be playing. Hell, I wouldn't mind seeing Chestnut get a few more carries, man. The good dude always looks good in preseason. So I like to see him get the rock a little bit more. But you got to get some chunk plays downfield, man. You got to take a chance. You got to throw the ball downfield. You got to get some what Aaron Rodgers called when he was complaining, send them down the seam and send them down the red line, and just throw it up and see what happens, So you throw caution to the wind this week. You got nothing to lose. Just go out there and play ball, man. Just go out there and play ball and see what happens. But you got to let the ball fly around, man. You can't go out there being conservative.
I absolutely agree with that. And I think that's a good way to wrap it up. I mean, just go play ball. Just go play ball. Go out there, fight, give it what you got, and try to go out there and win a game. I mean, we tend to used to have the Vrabel special. Win games you're not supposed to win. This would be one of them. We've already lost a few games we had no business losing. Let's win a game we're not supposed to win. Maybe, again, if they started Mason Rudolph, which they won't, and it seems like they're willing to go down with the Levis ship. And I mean, if you're going to do that, just let him loose. He's going to throw a bunch of picks. That's fine. I'm kind of over it now. I'm over Levis. So let's just see what happens. And we'll just let the chips fall where they may. We're gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap this up because Ken, I know I talked your head off too. I appreciate you, Ken. Once again, advertise yourself. Where can everybody find you? And I again appreciate everything that you do, man. Talk to the people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Of course, you guys can find my YouTube show on Danger Zone Podcast on YouTube. Danger hyphen. Make sure you put the hyphen in there. Danger hyphen Zone Podcast on YouTube. You can go subscribe there. Hit that notification bell. Then that way you can get notified when our shows are. Typically, they're on Sunday nights. Depending on my schedule, sometimes they may bleed over into the week, but go ahead and check out the podcast there. Of course, if you guys are college football fans, you can find me on ESPN Plus. If you have the ESPN app, I will be broadcasting this week I'll be broadcasting Alcorn and Southern in the SWAC. That game will be at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus. And then on social media, you guys can follow me on Twitter at KMore Sports, on Facebook at KMore Sports, and then also Kenmore on Facebook as well. And on IG, it would be at Kenmore Sports. So definitely appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. And so, hey, that is the great Ken Moore. He's in the know. Y'all better get to know him. Y'all go follow him up because this man knows football. He knows exactly what he's talking about. And he's one of my go-tos. He's one of my go-tos, one of my guys. And again, him and Daryl, I appreciate y'all. Let me be in y'all fair city. We had I can't remember the name of the place. Was it like the Breakfast Pantry? I think we went to.
Oh, the Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club. Yeah, I'm about to come on back down to. I'm gonna have to come on down to Houston and watch us maybe get humiliated by Houston, and I'm about to come there. I'm about to go there again, and I'm about to go have me another bit of that pork chop. That pork chop was delicious. That pork chop was delicious.
Hey, you come down and check out the Rockets and the Grizzlies, man. Whenever the Grizzlies come to town.
Yeah, I'm about to definitely do that. I'm definitely going to have to check that out. That'll be fun. That would be something fun to do. So I definitely have to check that out. But Ken, as always, my brother, I appreciate you coming on and everything. And I just thank you. And you have a good rest of the good night, sir.
All right, man. You have a good one.
Thank you. And that was Ken Moore, y'all, from Danger Zone Podcast. Y'all make sure y'all check him out. Well, that's that on that, everybody. I really don't have a bombshell to drop. I know it's getting cold out there. It's getting into the autumn. It's getting close to Halloween. Everybody make sure y'all be safe and everything with stuff going on. But we got more coming up. So make sure y'all get ready for the live stream against Buffalo. I may be at the Titans headquarters this week because I know we're going to lose probably, but I'm going to go down having fun with my people, most likely, depending on what's going on. I got some things coming up, but he's definitely still in Houston, Hugo, definitely. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. I know I couldn't get to everybody coming, but I tried to show them all, at least show some love to y'all and everything. But I thank y'all for tuning into the show. Again, y'all make sure y'all give a like. Make sure y'all give a like on the channel, and also make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. I'm going to go ahead and try to download and get this thing out definitely by no later than tomorrow. Make sure y'all let everybody know where to go. I'm your man, Chris, a.k.a. Blue Enforcer, a.k.a. The Truth. Y'all have a very good rest of the night. Tighten up, because that's all we know how to do. Start Rudolph. Leathers ain't it. Good night, y'all.